All right, thanks, and good afternoon, everybody. Trevor Graff here from the internal Artemis science team, and excited to give you an update about both the hardware and integrated testing that's been going over the past year plus. And a quick shout out to, includes many teams from the Artemis internal science team to a lot of integrated teams in the EVA and human surface mobility program that you see listed there. Next slide, please. So first, to start with the hardware, and so Stephanie and Brian gave a great update this morning on the overall program that this falls within. So the Artemis EVA hardware development all falls under that EVA Human and Surface Mobility, or EHP program for short. And so, stood up in January, so a little over a year ago. This program has been really firing on all cylinders to manage this hardware as it comes on board. My role and a number of other roles are to try to figure out to get science integrated early and often. So kind of the big takeaway down there at the bottom is stay engaged in the suit development, the tool development, and the rovers, the unpressurized and pressurized rovers, as these things mature through the various aspects that they're being procured and developed through. And so just to touch on those three columns from the suits, the tools, and the rovers, as you heard, Axiom Space is awarded the task order for the lunar surface Artemis 3 suit. And so there's a lot of integration going on right now with Axiom Space on the developments that not only that NASA did under the XEMU program, but in leading into their aspects of the suit development. And you can imagine, the things that matter a lot to us from a science side is the mobility and visibility of the suit. So the lighting aspects, the visors, and the overall mobility of the suit to provide the capability we need on the lunar surface for doing science aspects. The contract also for Axiom Space includes the Artemis 3 tools. And so those are the tools that we'll be looking at for sample collection, transportation, and stowage of geologic samples for ultimate return. So that's a critical aspect for us. And we've been briefing that as those tools have matured through the efforts at JSC and the JSC tools team. So there's a number of publications out there where we've brought folks up to speed, or at least the current state of knowledge on what is now being referred to as the NASA Design Reference Geology Tool Suite, which is pictured some of those components in the center. And this tool suite was, developed leveraging a lot of Apollo heritage, was packaged as far as it got through the JSC and NASA efforts, and now is in the hands of the XEVAS vendors to be able to mature those as they see fit. Given the list of tools and capabilities that we're looking for on Artemis 3 mission. And then finally, you heard a number of things on the rover systems. And so, ultimately for science, the rovers provide, and more diverse science discoveries across larger areas and increase operational capabilities. So really looking forward to those rovers coming on board. And just another note, right? Like, we are engaged in the Artemis science team to help develop those requirements and the capabilities that we look for, not only when crew is using the rover systems, but also during uncrewed telerobotic operations. Next slide. So switching gears a little bit from the hardware to facilities and testing events. I think I say this every time I brief this, but the cadence of testing is ever increasing in its frequency and scope and complexity across numerous facilities, getting ramped up for Artemis testing and training. And that's appropriate given the diverse portfolio of testing is required for all the different types of hardware we're onboarding, the ConOps and the training objectives, as you'll hear shortly here from Cindy. I just wanted to touch on a few aspects here and then dive in my last slide in the field components. So just a quick brief update on the aspects of the NBL, or the Neutral Buoyancy Lab. So there's a dedicated region of the NBL, so this is the far left-hand column, that has been designated for Artemis surface operations testing. And so you see a pretty cool picture there of low angle lighting in the water column. So this is a suited test subject at 40 feet of water at the bottom of the MBO in simulated regolith with rocks and regolith. There's a rock mock-up that's as large as Split Rock on Apollo 17 at the bottom of the pool. And so that allows us to do those pressurized testing events leading to, Artemis testing profile in the coming years. And so that's really exciting to see that facility develop over the past year plus. Next to that is the Argos facility, so the active reduced gravity offload system. So this is the robotic system in building 9 of JSC. And so this facility has supported numerous testing events and continue to increase the testing events for lunar offloaded gravity spacesuit pressurized events, as you see pictured there. It's really been a good go-to facility for tools testing. And in that Argos facility, we've had a sandbox of rocks and regolith to be able to test in, and the exciting possibilities going forward is a much larger Argos-like facility that's being built right next to the current facility in Building 9. So we look forward to that over the coming years to really expand the play box to do more mobility aspects in that reduced gravity field that Argos provides. Something that's near and dear to I bet a lot of our hearts on the science side is the field aspects for ConOps development, tool testing, and also just pure science training. So the third column there speaks a little bit to the field events, which I'll have the last slide on. The cadence is really increasing on those events over numerous locations, kind of building our partnerships as we go for both testing and training purposes. And this is all being done under the hat of what you'll hear is the JET team, the Joint EVA and Human Surface Mobility Testing Team. So that team has been firing on all cylinders to facilitate a number of tests. But that's not to say we haven't kept an eye out for what's happening at different survey nodes and other aspects of analogs that are funded through some various reasons or avenues. So all that stuff is being incorporated into the hardware and ConOps development. And then the last column there just is a shout out to a number of other NASA facilities that are supporting capability going forward for both hardware and ConOps development. Lighting labs, the Rock Yard at JSC, and other NASA facilities are being used quite often. Human health and performance labs, virtual reality labs, a lot of chamber testing going on. So there's a host of others that I didn't want to exclude here, but the 3 NBO Argos and field events have really increased in cadence, and it's exciting to see over the past year. There's strong Artemis internal participation in the leadership of these tests and incorporation into the planning and execution. Last slide, please. I wanted to touch on the field events just because there's special interest in those. Like I said, this isn't an all-inclusive list. This is specifically the JET testing going on. So again, that Joint EVA Human Surface Mobility Test Team. This is, we've had to get away from naming tests or analog tests based on the year when they occurred, because this portfolio you see from JET 1 to JET 4 has all occurred in the last year and 1 month, or so just in the past year we've been 4 different locations, including international and various teams, various hardware testing that is going on, and various ConOps. And so just in the past year, these 4 tests have occurred, and we're already leaning forward into JET 5, which you'll hear from Kelsey here in a few minutes. So just real quick across from left to right, JET 1 occurred at Petrillo Volcanic Field in New Mexico, southern New Mexico, largely a hardware checkout and testing capability. JET 2 in Iceland Highlands for navigation and other tool testing. JET 3 in the San Francisco Volcanic Field. You see this was one that Kelsey will touch on as well. Fully integrated MCC tests between the field and mission operations. And then JET 4, we're still dusting off from that test, just occurred here recently at the Nevada National Security Site. Again, all these are leaning on the, are on the shoulders of giants. A number of these sites have been used during the Apollo time, and we're building those partnerships and capabilities back, and science is well integrated. So with that, I will pitch it over back to Deborah, and Kelsey will pick up on the Jet 3 and Jet 5.